Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 This evening's reading is from the Bhagavad Gita as it is, chapter 7, verse 7. It's on page 373. Has everybody got that? Thank you. Everybody got that, yeah?
Yeah.
Very so. Mata parataram nayat.
Mata Parataram Nayat.
Yudhasti Dhananjaya. Ahisavamidam protam.
Yasalamidam Pratam.
Sutramani kanaiva. Mata parataram nayat.
Mata Parataram Nayat.
Yudhasti Dhananjaya.
Dhananjaya.
Ahisavamidam protam. Sutramani kanaiva. Mata parataram nayat. Yudhasti Dhananjaya. Ahisavamidam protam. Sutramani kanaiva. Mata beyond me. Parataram superior. Na not. Anyat kinship. Anything else. Asti there is. Dhananjaya conqueror of wealth. Mai in me. Sarvam all that be. Idam which we see. Protam strung. Sutre on thread. Manigani sorry, go on. Pearls. Iva like. Translation: O conqueror of wealth, there is no truth superior to me. Everything rests upon me as pearls are strung on a thread. Please repeat. O conqueror of wealth, there is no truth superior to me. Everything rests upon me. As pearls are strung on a thread. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. There is a common controversy over whether the Supreme Absolute Truth is personal or impersonal. As far as Bhagavad Gita is concerned, the Absolute Truth is the personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. And this is confirmed in every step. In this verse in particular, it is stressed that the Absolute Truth is a person, that the personality of Godhead is the Supreme Absolute Truth is also the affirmation of the Brahma Samhita, Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchidananda Vigraha. That is, the Supreme Absolute Truth, personality of Godhead is Lord Krishna, who is the primeval Lord, the reservoir of all pleasure, Govinda, and the eternal form of complete bliss and knowledge. These authorities leave no doubt that the Absolute Truth is the Supreme Person, the cause of all causes. The impersonalists, however, argue on the strength of the Vedic version given in the Svetasvatara Upanishad 3.10. Tato yad uttarataram tad arupam amamayam yaditat vidur amritas te bhavanti atetare dukam evapyayanti. In the material world, Brahma, the primeval living entity within the universe, is understood to be the supreme amongst the demigods, human beings and lower animals. But beyond Brahma there is the transcendence, who has no material form and is free from all material contaminations. Anyone who can know him also becomes transcendental, but those who do not know him suffer the miseries of the material world. The impersonalist puts more stress on the word arupam, but this arupam is not impersonal. It indicates the transcendental form of eternity, bliss and knowledge, as described in the Brahma Samhita quoted above. Other verses in the Svatara Upanishad 3:8-9 substantiate this as follows. Vedahametam Purusham Mahantam Aditya Varnam Tamasa Parastat Tameva Vidyamati Mrityamiti Nanya Pansa Vidyate Yanaya Yasmat Param Naparam Nasti Kinchit Yasmam Maniyo Yo No Gyayo Sti Kinchit Brikshaiva Stabdo Divi Distabdyakas Timadam Purnam Purasena Savam. I know that Supreme Personality of Godhead who is transcendental to all material conceptions of darkness. Only he who knows him can transcend the bonds of birth and death. There is no way for liberation other than this knowledge of that Supreme Person. There is no truth superior to that Supreme Person because he is the supermost. He is smaller than the smallest. He is greater than the greatest. He is situated as a silent tree and he illumines the transcendental sky. And as a tree spreads its roots, he spreads his extensive energies. From these verses, one concludes that the Supreme Personality, Supreme Absolute Truth is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is all-pervading by his multi-energies, both material and spiritual. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Read the translation again. O conqueror of wealth, there is no truth superior to me. Everything rests upon me as pearls are strung on a thread. So here, Arjuna is referred to as Dhananjaya, which is also my name, Dhananjaya Das, of course. He's known as a conqueror of wealth. Can anybody tell me why Arjuna is described as a conqueror of wealth? Why? I mean, he's a Kshatriya, he's supposed to fight, so why is he conquering wealth?
He gathered all some wealth for Yudhishthira, didn't he, or something?
Some Yudhishthira or something. Any? Chaitanya knows.
See if anyone else knows first.
Chaitanya, would you like to say it?
For the Rajasuya sacrifice, then they needed a lot of wealth to perform it. So Krishna sent Arjuna off to collect this wealth, and he sent him to the mountains. And then Arjuna recovered loads of gold that was left there, and they used that for the sacrifice.
Okay. Thank you. Actually, Arjuna is addressed as many names in the Bhagavad Gita. Can anybody tell me any other names that Arjuna is addressed by? Kuntaya, yeah, son of Kunti, yeah. Any other ones? Parantapa is one, yes. Partha, yeah, son of Prita, son of Kunti again, yeah. Chaitanya?
I was going to say Partha.
Yeah. Any other ones?
Conqueror of sleep.
What?
Gudakesh.
Gudakesh, conqueror of sleep, yeah. Any others? Mahabahu, mighty armed, yes, mighty armed one, yeah. Any others? I've got a couple others. Pandava, yeah, son of Pandu is one.
Isn't he known as Krishna as well, because he's the friend of Krishna?
Maybe it's in here, but I haven't got that one. I mean, I haven't looked extensively, just some of the ones that I know. There's also Kuru Nandana, beloved child of the Kurus. Kuru Satama, O best of the Kurus. Bharat, son of Bharat. Bharatashava, the best of the Bharats. And there's another one, Purusha Vyagra. Does anybody know what that one is?
Can you repeat after that?
Purusha Vyagra.
Purusha is controller, right? Or
Purusha is
Jaya. Big hands? I was just going by your actions.
Tiger among men.
Tiger among men, that's right. Yeah, sorry, not a very good actor there, yeah. So, so there's these, all these different names that Krishna addresses Arjuna as. And these different names, they signify his great qualities and his heritage as well. Because in the beginning, Arjuna is reluctant to fight. So Krishna is saying, hold on a minute, you're the son of Kunti, you're the son of Pandu, you're in the line of Bharat. The earth was known as Bharatvash because of King Bharat. So he's saying you've got a great heritage, you're a great personality. So it's significant that obviously that Krishna is speaking the Bhagavad Gita to someone like Arjuna. He's not choosing a low-class person. He's choosing a person that everybody in society knows for his great qualities as a great hero. Even apparently the young boys used to say that, I'm as good as Arjuna, I can beat you, in shooting or in fighting or something like that. They would compare themselves to him because he was known as a great warrior. And obviously he was a great prince. But not only that, obviously a great spiritual personality because he's the friend of Krishna. We know there's different relationships that one can have with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One of neutrality, one of servitude, one of friendship, parental and conjugal. Conjugal love, one can be a lover. So Arjuna, he has this relationship with Krishna on the level of friendship, which is very intimate. And that friendship is eternal. Early on in the Gita, Krishna says that you have forgotten all the times that we've been together in the past, but I haven't forgotten. So Arjuna is the eternal companion of Krishna, and he's choosing Krishna to delineate the philosophy of the Bhagavad Gita. So this should never be underestimated. Especially when we're presenting the philosophy here to people who are not familiar with Krishna consciousness, that actually the knowledge is coming down, not obviously in disciplic succession, but it was originally related to a very powerful and qualified personality like Arjuna. So this particular verse where Krishna is again, he's emphasizing his position, his superiority. Just like in the previous verse, he says that of all that is material and all that is spiritual in this world, know that for certain that I am both the origin and the dissolution. And here in this verse he says there's no truth superior to me. Everything rests upon me as pearls are strung on a thread. So this is very, very nice analogy where you have something very beautiful like a pearl necklace, and you can see the pearls, but very often you can't see the thread on the pearls, but there has to be a thread there. Similarly, we understand that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is creating, maintaining and destroying this cosmos. As the Shirodakshaya Vishnu, he maintains the whole universe. He enters into the heart of every living entity, and he enters into every atom. So when people talk about the greatness of God, Srila Prabhupada, again, he says they know that Krishna is, that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, or God, must be very great, that he may be the biggest, but they don't know that he's also the smallest. He can enter even into the atom like that. So this is his power. So it isn't easy on one level to see God. He's not apparent to our ordinary vision in that way. But for someone who's intelligent, we can see the effects of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in the creation. We can see that there's order in the universe. We can see that there's design. We can see that there's intelligence there. There's beauty. There's creativity in the very wonderful things that you can see. For example, and the planetary systems as well. They're rotating in a very precise order. If the sun planet goes off even by some slight degree, either too far away, this planet would freeze completely, and if it gets too close, then it would burn like a cinder. But it's in the Gita it says that the sun is rotating under the order of Krishna. So it's all being performed by a person. And we understand Krishna's not an ordinary person. But Prabhupada, in the beginning of the purport, he says that there's a controversy, in the fields of philosophy and spirituality, whereby some person thinks that the Supreme is impersonal and someone thinks the Supreme is personal. But he says from the authorities, also we have these verses from the Svetasvatara Upanishad and also from the Brahma Samhita. Prabhupada said from these authorities, it's clear that the absolute truth is a person. And he quotes, first of all, the very verse that we know, Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchidananda Vigraha, Nadaradina Govinda Savakarana Karana. How many people know this verse? We should know it, because I think everybody who gives a class comes up with this one. Yeah, it's one of my favourite verses actually, and I usually do, well, according to the circumstances, I usually trot it out. But it is a very powerful verse. So some people, especially in India, they worship the demigods. We call them demigods. The other gods. It's not this type of worship isn't necessarily so common in the West. But in India, people, they worship Lord Shiva, they worship Durga, they may worship Brahma or Ganesh or whoever it is. And sometimes they equate these personalities with Krishna, or they may say, oh, this particular personality, he's the Supreme. But Lord Brahma, who in this verse that Prabhupada quotes here from the Upanishads, is known as the primeval living being. He's the first living entity who's created in the universe, and he's born from the lotus flower springing from the navel of Garbhodakshai Vishnu. So he says Govinda Vari Purusham Tamaham Bhajami, I worship Govinda. Ishvara Parama Krishna, that Krishna is the supreme controller. Some people also they think, oh, Krishna's just an incarnation because he's known as the 10th avatar. He's an expansion or he's an incarnation of Vishnu, but no. In the Bhagavad it says Krishna's tu Bhagavan Swayam. The Krishna's the original personality of Godhead, and he has no superior and he has no equal. In the 10th chapter, he also says that he's the origin of the demigods. This is on page number 504. Neither the host of demigods nor the great sages know my origin or opulences, for in every respect I'm the source of the demigods and sages. So Krishna makes it quite clear that he's the origin of all these different personalities. And it says in that particular verse from the Upanishads that the absolute truth is transcendental to Brahman. But they use the word arupa. Literally, the word arupa means no form. Also, sometimes the absolute truth is described as nirguna, having no qualities. But Srila Prabhupada actually emphasizes in his writings that doesn't mean that the absolute truth doesn't have any form or doesn't have any senses. He says it means he has a form, but it's transcendental. It's not ordinary. When Krishna appeared here 5,000 years ago, he appeared in his Satchidananda form, his form of eternity, knowledge and bliss. Not everybody in the world could perceive that necessarily. Because sometimes people say, well, if God was here now, if God were to be here now, then I believe he existed. But even 5,000 years ago, not everybody in society could accept that he was the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The example is given when Krishna and Balaram entered the wrestling arena to kill the wrestlers and to kill cancer, and different people saw him in different ways. Not only, I think the sages, they saw him as a Supreme Personality of Godhead, but everybody, some people saw him as a great hero, some saw him as his friend or something like that. Not everybody could actually appreciate his status as a Supreme Person. So And of course there are other philosophers who say, like Neti, the Supreme, he's not this, he's not that, he doesn't have eyes, he doesn't have a head, he doesn't have arms. I remember listening to a lecture one time by Satsvarup Maharaj, and he was saying that this is like describing somebody as blind or deaf and dumb or disabled. You know, that it's very derogatory to say that the Supreme doesn't have any senses. The thing is that we have senses, so how come the Supreme doesn't have? Actually, in some philosophies, they say that it's an offence, actually, to say that God has a form. You know, because they equate that with the form that we have. And our forms are perishable, and our characters are very flawed. So they think it's an offence to think like that. But from the information that we get from the Vedic literatures, and specifically from the Bhagavad Gita, we understand that Krishna is a perfect personality. He's actually Sarvakara Nakara, he's the cause of all causes. And as it says in the end of the purport, that he is the smaller and the small, he's greater than the greatest, he's situated as a silent tree, and he illumines the transcendental sky. As a tree spreads its fruits, he spreads his extensive energies. So Krishna has he has different energies, and he can spread them anywhere. He can use them in any way he likes. So, so it's a fact that there's no person who's higher or more superior to Krishna, and there's nothing beyond. Sometimes we think, well, we understand Krishna as the Supreme, but maybe there's something beyond the Supreme. But he says no. He says, what do they say? The buck rests here. They use that, businessmen. They use that expression. That Krishna is the finality of everything. He's the totality, and he's saying you can't speculate beyond me. I'm the totality of everything. Everything comes from me. The living entity, the spiritual world is a manifestation of his internal energy. The cosmos, the material world, is a manifestation of his external energy, and the living entities are a manifestation of his marginal energy. And Krishna is Vishnu Tattva. He has so many different personal expansions, which he uses for different purposes. And they all have the same qualities as him. Maybe not exactly, but they're all Satchidananda. Srila Prabhupada says it's like one candle being lit from another candle. He can light so millions and millions of candles, expand himself as so many millions of Vishnu forms or so many other forms. And yet they're all the same quality. Arjuna also confirms that Krishna is the absolute truth. He says, Param Brahm, Param Dham, that you're the supreme Brahman, you're the supreme abode or refuge of everyone. And Arjuna, he states this after Krishna, he reveals the universal form. So this is another proof that Krishna can actually be seen in the way that he pervades the universe. How Krishna is the supreme personality of God, and not that someone just says so or he says so, but he demonstrates. And when Krishna shows Arjuna the universal form, Arjuna is completely amazed. He sees thousands and millions of heads, all the demigods, he sees all the planets, he sees all the mountains and seas, everything. All the plants, all the vegetation, everything. He says, Krishna, I see them all in one body. So this is the proof that Krishna is the source of everything, at least the source of everything even within this cosmos, within this universe. So he reveals that. He reveals that truth to someone who is devoted. He also states that at the end of the 11th chapter, that I can only be known by devotional service. At the end of the purport, Srila Prabhupada, he also says that One who knows him can transcend the bonds of birth and death. There is no way for liberation other than the knowledge of that Supreme Person. So for somebody who's actually interested in actually trying to get out of this material world, we actually need to develop knowledge of Krishna. And that's why we need to study the books like the Bhagavad Gita, because they give very concise, comprehensive knowledge about the Supreme Absolute Truth. We just heard actually the other day that this scientist, Stephen Hawking, he passed away, yeah?
Yesterday, right?
Was it yesterday? Sorry, I thought it was the day before yesterday. It's yesterday. So he's celebrated as a great scientist, someone who was responsible for putting forward so many fascinating theories and his mathematical equations. But in general, he would be part of a community that is generally, that they put forward atheistic and mechanistic conclusions to the origin of the world, of the universe. Prabhupada, he generally, he condemned, he didn't condemn science, but he condemned atheistic science. And that he said that they actually, they were bereft of absolute knowledge. He actually said, Prabhupada actually said that there's nothing wrong with science and all the investigations and observations and experiments they do if they support the theistic conclusion that there's a God. But generally they don't do that. It's actually interesting, I read somewhere that prior to the influence of Charles Darwin, the world of religion and science, they coexisted quite happily, that they actually supported one another. But after Darwin's books, The Origin of the Species and the Descent of Man, after that time it became very unfashionable to actually want to accept the creationist idea of the origin of the universe. And so that really that idea has prevailed until the present day. So it's a fact that modern scientists, they do go to great lengths to try and find out the truths that are there in the universe and through astronomy and so many things like that. You know, they set up powerful telescopes to try to find out what's happening in the other planetary systems and the galaxies, and in that way. But the point is that all the essential truth that you need to know is present in the Bhagavad Gita. So it makes it easier to find out what is the origin of everything, where we come from, what is the purpose of our lives, who we are, what the cosmos is, what the relationship is between all these things by studying the Bhagavad Gita. And that way we get definitive knowledge. Again, this knowledge is not just coming specifically from Arjuna. Of course, the Bhagavad Gita originally was spoken by Krishna to the sun god. He says that in the 4th chapter, that I related this knowledge first of all to the sun god, and he spoke it to Manu, who was the father of mankind, and Manu, he spoke it to Ikshvaku, who was one of the kings going back here. And he was, King Dasarath was in the line of Ikshvaku. From in the Surya-Vamsa dynasty, like that. So we accept that this knowledge is coming down from thousands of years via the medium of realized souls, great acharyas that we have in our movement. Obviously, Srila Prabhupada is our current great acharya, but it goes back through the succession that you can see here on the altar, and it goes back to Lord Chaitanya, and prior to that to Madhavacharya, Ramanujacharya, so many great proponents of Krishna consciousness who support the conclusions also that Krishna is delineating here in the Bhagavad Gita. So it's interesting that that Arjuna again was chosen to have this truth revealed. But there's also other personalities who Krishna revealed himself. And one of those personalities was Bali Maharaj. And I just wanted to read a couple of verses from the Srimad Bhagavatam. I think most of you must know the story of Vamanadev. It's quite long. Yeah, everybody knows the story of Vamanadev, so I'm not going to particularly go through that story. But it's interesting that when Vamanadev asked Bali Maharaj for 3 steps of land, that Bali Maharaj agreed to that, but his guru Sukracharya said, "Well, no, don't give him 3 paces of land because he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead." And Bali Maharaj said, "No, well, even if he is the Supreme Personality, it's my duty. You know, if we're all servants of Krishna, then it's my duty to serve him and to actually offer him anything he wanted." So then Vamanadev, he expanded himself, and I'd just like to read these verses from the 8th canto. The unlimited Supreme Personality of Godhead, who assumed the form of Vamana, then began increasing in size, acting in terms of the material energy, until everything in the universe was within his body, including the earth, the planetary systems, the sky, the directions, the various holes in the universe, the seas, the oceans, the birds, beasts, human beings, the demigods, and the great saintly persons. Bali Maharaj, along with all the priests, acharyas, and members of the assembly, observed the Supreme Personality of Godhead universal body, which was full of 6 opulences. That body contained everything within the universe, including all the gross material elements, the senses, the sense objects, the mind, intelligence, and false ego, the various kinds of living entities, and the actions and reactions of the 3 modes of material nature. So here, Krishna, he reveals himself to someone who is devoted. And this is obviously a very important point. Because we read this translation that there's no truth superior to me, everything rests upon me as pearls are strung upon a thread. But can we see that ourselves? Can we see how Krishna is present? Can we see how he's present in our lives, for example? Can we see how he's present in the holy name? What other ways can we see Krishna is present? In his deity form, yes.
In the association of devotees.
Association of devotees, yes. Any other?
And then it talks about in the next verse. So
you're going into the next week.
Sorry,
Prasada, yeah, he's present in Prasada. Yes, so many ways. If we're conscious, and what Prabhupada says, we should be conscious, and then we be Krishna conscious. So also, in our ordinary lives, we're conscious of the things that we do, but are we conscious that Krishna is present? Can we see Krishna in things like that? So that's very important. Krishna also says he's in the heart. Ishvara Sarvabhutana, Brahmayam Sarvabhutani, Yancharudrani Maya. In the 18th chapter, he says, I'm in the heart of everyone, and I'm directing the wanderings of all living beings who are situated as on a machine made of material energy. So Krishna's in the heart. He's accompanying us on our journey in the material world, and he wants us to come back to him. So he gives us messages. It's also described, if we are concerned about doing something in Krishna consciousness, that we actually need confirmation from without, from the Guru, from the sadhus, and also confirmation within. Because Krishna is known as Chaita Guru. He's the Guru within the heart. Is it important to see the Guru in the heart, do you think? Or to know that he's there? I think it is, yeah. I just remember one time when I think I've given the example before, but in 26 Avenue, Prabhupada wanted to start a printing press, and he asked Brahmananda to start this printing press. This story was actually related by somebody else. It was by a scholar. It was in one of the videos, this chap was saying that Brahmananda, he's only because Prabhupada wanted to start a magazine back to Godhead, and he said that Brahmananda's only previous experience of magazines was reading one. He had absolutely no experience of printing absolutely whatsoever. So he asked Prabhupada, Prabhupada, how will I do this? So you would think, well, Prabhupada's a guru, so he's going to give him detailed instructions about how to do this. Okay, first of all, you have to, go on the yellow pages and, buy a printing press, and then you have to go and get paper and, get people to write up. But he didn't say that. He says, just depend upon Krishna. Krishna will help you. So I found that a very interesting thing, that Prabhupada didn't always spoon-feed the devotees, but rather he wanted them to develop their personal relationship with Krishna, and therefore he wanted them actually to look inside and actually to ask Krishna, okay, Krishna, what will I do? I'm just depending upon you. Give me direction. And if we do that, the more that actually we can see Krishna is present in everything like that. We can see him present in the holy name, we can see him present in things that happen to us, in our relationship with other devotees and everything else. I think that's everything that I'd like to say about that particular verse. There's probably lots more that we could discuss about it, but I'd like to leave it now at 7:30. I'd like to thank Chaitanya Ballabha Prabhu for asking me to speak on this subject, and I'd like to thank everybody for listening.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama.